You have to give former back alley abortionist Jesse Ketchum at least some credit because it took him nearly a year to kill his first safe and legal abortion patient. He killed his second one 4 months later, so I guess he just got on a roll there. This is Christina with the Sisyphean Journal, and we are looking at an abortion death for October 20th. Now, you have to understand who Jesse Ketchum was. He was an illegal abortionist in Ypsilanti, Michigan. And he really had a pretty clean record. He did have malpractice suits against him for his regular medical practice, but I haven't found any evidence that he ever even hospitalized, much less killed an abortion patient in his illegal Ypsilanti practice. He did get arrested because it was known that he was an abortionist. He was getting referrals from clergy consultation services. So, when they were doing stings to catch illegal abortionists, they just go to clergy consultation services, get a referral, go catch the guy doing abortions. So he wasn't the best doctor in the world, but he did seem to keep his nose clean when it came to his abortion patients. Now, for some bizarre reason, instead of doing the abortions in his office, he did them in a motel room. Strikes me as a little bit odd, but who can understand what goes on in this man's head? Now, what happened that supposedly made abortion ever so much safer was that New York State legalized abortion on demand through 24 weeks, pretty much no holds barred. If you're a doctor, go ahead, do whatever you want. Ketchum shuffled off to Buffalo and opened an abortion practice in, well, I guess you go with what you're comfortable with, a motel suite. Now, he eventually did move into an office. Now, what was happening in New York at the time, when you tell all these doctors, because like independent researchers both showed, both Planned Parenthood's Dr. Mary Calderon and Nancy Howell Lee, who I think it was her doctoral dissertation, both found that roughly 90% of pre-legalization abortions were being done by doctors. Well, when you tell these doctors, guess what? You can screw up. You're not going to go to jail for doing abortions. Now, screwing up is what typically got them caught. They're told, it's legal now. Don't worry about it. Don't worry. It's all between friends. A lot of them got very, very sloppy. And one of them was this guy, Jesse Ketchum. So Ketchum set up shop in Buffalo. He started out in a motel room. Then he actually set up a legitimate doctor's office. He started doing what's called hysterotomy abortions in his office. And a hysterotomy is basically a C-section, but done prematurely so that the baby dies of prematurity. It can't survive. You do it before the baby's viable. And that's what he was doing on an outpatient basis in his office. Think about that. Now, he was going in vaginally rather than slicing the woman's abdomen open. He would go in and, cut the uterus open and just take the fetus out, let it die, stitch the hole shut. Well, in, when was it? June of 1971, almost a year after widespread legalization in New York, an unfortunate Ypsilanti woman named Margaret went to Ketchum's office. He did this hysterotomy abortion, didn't sew the hole shut, let her bleed to death. Now, that was so egregious that he was actually arrested for it and charged. Can't remember whether it was manslaughter or murder, but he faced serious charges for this, which must have verily astonished him because nobody else was getting charged, and they were doing things like injecting huge amounts of strong saline solution into the amniotic sac and then just sending the woman on her way to bleed to death at home, and they weren't getting in any serious trouble for it. So he was yesterday. Ketchum must have been absolutely astonished when he got arrested. And but he got out on bail. While he was out on bail, a 37-year-old woman named Carol traveled from Ohio to Buffalo for her abortion. Now, she had been referred to this guy who had already killed a woman under circumstances that were considered homicide by an abortion advocacy organization. They really were not vetting these people, were they? And you still see this. They don't vet them. People were referring women to Gosnell. They don't vet them. They simply assume, you know, abortions, you're a good doctor. So, Ketchum performed the hysterotomy abortion on Carol, and she went into shock, and at least she was taken to a hospital. Ketchum just let Margaret bleed to death in his office. He was across the street from a hospital and didn't bother to take her there until the boyfriend came back to pick her up and is like, she looks dead to me, do something. Basically, he'd cut open her cervix and uterus and an artery. And Ketchum had done some sutures to attempt to repair the damage, but he stitched her cervix closed so that he wasn't seeing any more blood. Now, one of the doctors that testified in Ketchum's defense was a fellow named Dr. Milan Vooch, who also got referrals from clergy consultation services. He operated in D.C., and he was lauded to the skies by abortion rights organizations because he challenged the D.C. abortion law. And while he didn't get it overturned, he was blatantly doing illegal abortions. He didn't get the law overturned, but he did get the burden of proof shifted so that instead of the abortionist having to prove that the abortion had been done in good faith to attempt to save the woman's life, it became contingent upon the state to prove that the abortion had not been performed as a good faith attempt to save the mother's life. So this made him a hero. Oh, he's wonderful. Bernard Nathanson wrote about how when clergy consultation services was deciding whether or not to refer to Vooch, they did actually bother to send Nathanson there to watch him. And Nathanson thought the guy was a little bit iffy, but what the hell, he did abortions and greenlit him. So that's just a pattern. You do abortions, you don't appear to be falling down drunk, you're good enough. Vooch did not have any dead patients as a criminal abortionist. He, like Ketchum, went on to kill 2 patients with his sloppiness after legalization. And another abortion rights icon named Benjamin Munson in South Dakota had started out as a criminal abortionist. No dead women I've been able to link with him, and I've tried. After legalization, got sloppy, killed 2 women. So this is why I get so frustrated with the idea of, oh, it's legal, so now it's safe. You would have been better off going to Ketchum, Vooch, or Munson before legalization when he had his freedom and knew it was on the line.